presentation.
I have written a whole thesis on the subject of Guru Dharma. You can call it Guru Dharma or Garu Dharma. It all means Garu means teacher. So what I feel is that it is now found only in the Chulla Vagga, which is over 100 years after the divines of the Buddha. That it could very well be an interpolation regarding these bhikkhunis. Because we find often and on, the bhikkhunis have become a vulnerable target. So it may be possible. I have done a whole research on the subject. The book is now submitted, and actually I am hoping to see it in daylight soon to publish it, because it would be very interesting reading material for all of you. Very lucid in my explanation, and I have been quoting chapter and verse, both in Pali and the translation in English. So it would be very interesting to read. Not only this chapter on bhikkhunis, but the first council is also having many, many controversial points regarding women.
Yes, two questions. Hello. Two questions. The one that's really bothering me a little has to do with who is it? I mean, all of these efforts in Sri Lanka are so wonderful, but who is it in Sri Lanka that is designing extra rules for the women who will be fully ordained? Is it the monks or is it the women themselves? What worried me in the presentation, in your presentation, was the sense that the monks are committing abuses. The women will be governed so they don't commit those abuses. These rules in 100 years are going to look very, very peculiar indeed, and may be used against women in a way that's analogous to the Guru Dharma. The second part of the question for Bhikshuni Kusuma is, I am stunned by this story of the 500 women that Mahapajapati led to ordination, turning around and saying to her, "You are not ordained." Can you please tell us more about that story? Okay.
It is recorded in the text.
Yeah, but how do you understand it?
My personal view is that the Buddha ordained Mahapajapati and the monks ordained the rest of the Sakyan women. That is how I see it.
How would they do that, is what I'm asking you. How can the women themselves go around and say to their leader, "We're ordained and you're not"? Sorry.
Always change the micro. To get it recorded, we have to always change the micro.
I'm sorry, I was asked to repeat it with the microphone. My point of confusion is about the 500 women. They have been led to their ordination by this woman who is their leader. And then the moment that they have had it, they turn around. And it seems to me a shocking betrayal. So what I guess I'm asking you is to tell me how you understand not the structure of the ordination, but the conduct of these women. Yeah.
Well, what I can understand in short, in brief, is that the whole story is a later interpolation. And it never happened.
concerning your question about the rules, first of all, those rules are still, they weren't made up. I don't think, they were still in process, okay? And secondly, everything that seems to happen at that center, I think, from what my understanding, talking both to the laymen, the bhikkhu, as well as nuns, is that there are leading nuns, Dasasil Manual, who are also conversing. So it's not as though there are these men who are making decisions about the women. That was what I seemed to learn from that.
Why would an additional monastic code be written that applied only to the nuns and not to the monks? If such additional rules and an additional code is needed, why isn't it being written to apply equally to the nuns and the monks, particularly if there are problems in the moral conduct of the monks?
I didn't quite understand.
Additional code. I think actually in Sri Lanka, and I don't know enough about, I should know more about the monks, but I think in Sri Lanka there are certain rules which the monks have to follow, apart from the Vinayas, aren't there? There are certain which are legally, I mean constitutionally they're accepted. Isn't that so?
We speak of Kotiyak Sangvara Silaya.
Yeah.
A million rules. Koti means 1 million. The minor rules of the bhikkhus are around 1 million. So I think this code of ethics covers that Kotiyak Sangvara Sila. Every moment of the day, there is awareness that needs to be practiced, and they are in the region of millions of minor rules.
So, and these are outside the Vinaya itself?
These cover that. They may be emphasizing these rules more.
In the secular world?
In the secular world, they may be emphasizing some of these rules, maybe due to modern situation.
Yeah.
But they are all incorporated in the Vinaya as minor rules. They may be emphasizing it more now.
Yes, so they're there, I think.
They are there,
yes,
I don't know.
They're there
They
in
are
different
there.
form.
Like to ask you, would it be a good support for you to have a Sakadita conference in Nepal?
Support for us.
A good support for you to have a Vinaya, a Sakadita conference in Nepal to help you establishing the picture.
I don't know.
You can organize for the next Sakadita conference in Nepal.
Yeah.
You would like to?
Yeah, also we would like to have a conference, Sakadita conference in Nepal too, because we recently built a monastery in nunnery monastery in Lumbini. The government give us a small land to build a nunnery. If we wish to have a conference in there, we're very glad to have a conference there.
Another question from Venerable Panyavati. I would like to know, now you are ordained Bhikkhuni and Dhammavati too. I would like to know how, whether you live in Nepal as Bhikkhunis, whether difficulties you come across, and whether you live like nuns in the same community.
Whether you have difficulties in your living support.
Whether you can live as different from the other nuns.
Or are you living just like a
Like any other 10 preceptor?
Or your
Where-
life is different?
No.
As a bhikkhuni?
We are full ordained bhikkhuni in Nepal. We are just staying as a 10 precept nun. We didn't tell anybody that we are a bhikkhunis because we are afraid of monks and we are not afraid of devotees because devotees are supporting us. Without devotees, we cannot live. So we are just afraid of monks. Problem as we have in Nepal.
But very soon, since our monks are now supporting us, they themselves are doing the training for the higher ordination. Very soon we will have the ordained bhikkhunis living in a separate community as bhikkhunis. So we hope the Nepali bhikkhunis too, we might extend that same thing to the Nepal bhikkhunis and bring more pressure to your monks.
Because in Nepal we have only the few bhikkhunis. If we increase a lot of bhikkhuni, maybe we are do more. We can struggle. So we are requesting Bhikshuni Kushuma to come in Nepal to show the bhikkhunis as a Theravada bhikkhuni. So if we inviting her to come once in Nepal and teach.
I will be ever so glad to come and visit you. And also I like to impress upon you, as bhikkhunis, we are keeping the bhikkhuni precepts. Now this last 1 year, we've been daily confessions because we have 311 rules of discipline. So we have daily confessions, bi-monthly recitation of Patimokkha, and we have been observing 3 months was the rains retreat. And at the end of the rains retreat, we've been accepting Katina from 2 countries. So I think we have done very well, not only in studying Vinaya rules, but also practicing them in daily life and getting ourselves acquainted to this new life. So I think I can give this experience most willingly to you, Venerable.
I'd also like to address a question to Venerable Panyamati. I'm interested to know whether you would care to comment some more about the attitudes of the Burmese Sangha toward what you are doing in Nepal and specifically toward the ordination of women. We've been hearing something about the specific kinds of disagreements in the Sri Lankan tradition, but I wonder if you could tell us a little bit more about what's happening in the Burmese tradition.
Senior monks in the Burmese tradition toward full ordination for women. And I wonder if you could tell us a little bit more about the attitudes of the monks, Burmese monks.
I don't know about Burmese monks.
Okay, then just say that.
Say aloud that you do not want to answer this question.
Sorry for that. I didn't want to answer that question because he's asking about the Burmese monks. We are not related with Burmese monks.
Burmese
I think in this context, in the context of the discussion this morning, I thought I would like to invite Venerable from Taiwan, who is going to conduct an ordination, Upasampada, higher ordination ceremony in Bodh Gaya next February. That would be very useful. Please.
Venerable Bhikkhu, Venerable Bhikkhu, Bhikkhuni, brother and sister in the Dharma. Let me first introduce myself. I'm German. German, the meaning in English is the gate of enlightenment, but I'm still in this samsara world. I'm from Taiwan, Fo Guangshan, the largest monastery in Taiwan. And when hearing all our sisters from the Theravada countries speak about what they have to face in their country, I feel it's very fortunate that I am being born in Singapore, a very prospective country, and I have gone over to Taiwan to become a nun and take my higher ordination over there. It was in last year. May last year when we, for Guangshan, we organized an international monastic seminar where monks, bhikkhunis, and lay people from the different traditions requested my master, Venerable Master Xing, the founder of Fo Guangshan Buddhist Order, to hold a higher ordination for bhikkhuni in Bodh Gaya, and to bring, to do goods for Buddhism, to do Buddhism proud and prosperative, and also to restore the broken bhikkhuni village in the Theravada country was always my master vow. And that's why when the different countries, monks and nuns and lay people requested him to hold a high ordination in Bodh Gaya, my master agreed to do so, and even to the extent to finance. Though my master have the aims that in Taiwan, we have the opportunity to take high ordinations. It's being held every year in Taiwan. So my master was saying that if any nuns from the Tibetan traditions or Theravada tradition would like to take higher ordination, we will cut down the application from Taiwan. We do have many applications from Taiwan, but we just cut down them because they have the opportunity. And in Taiwan, as everybody knows, it's very rich. Mentality, I think it's okay, rich, and materially, we are very rich. Consider Taiwan is very rich, so they have the opportunity. So any application from Taiwan, we just cut down and we give the opportunity to those who have the less opportunity to take the higher ordination. And also because we are financing them for their airfare to India, that's what my master always hoped, to restore bhikkhuni ordination in the Theravada country. And that's what, in gratitude of what Buddha have given to us and what Sanghamitra have brought from India to Sri Lanka, and they have brought to China, and now we are returning paying our attitudes to the Sri Lankas and to the Teen Indian to bring the bhikkhuni ordination back to our motherlands. I think, have I enough information for everybody? Thank you.
Please, more questions?
I would make a very important comment or rather an addition to what Venerable from Fo Guangshan said. There is some fear among the Theravada countries about the tradition, about the lineage. So what is going to be re-established is the Dharmagupta lineage. It is the same lineage that was given by the Sri Lankan bhikkhunis in 400, first batch went from Sri Lanka in 428, and the second batch in 433, and gave the higher ordination to the Chinese nuns in Nanjing. I have published a translation of this, of the history of this, the Chinese history of the higher ordination that was given by the Sri Lankan nuns. So it is the same Dharmagupta Vinaya that is being continued up to now. So the monks, Theravada monks, and also sometimes the 10 precepts nuns have been having is that whether they are going to have the same lineage of the Bhikkhuni order that was promulgated by Prajapati Gautami. So there is no fear about this. That's why I wanted to make this explanation about the Dharma Gupta Vinaya, which was transmitted from Sri Lanka to China, and from there to Korea and Japan and other countries over the centuries. Thank you very much. And Venerable Kusuma would like to speak.
Thank you, Dr. Hema Gunatilaka. I've been studying this quite for some time, and what I see is that there is no such thing as Mahayana ordination or Theravada ordination. The procedure is the same, because the Vinaya never underwent any changes. They are the sutras that underwent, the Mahayana sutras underwent changes. The Vinaya procedure remains the same in both Theravada and Mahayana. This became evident to me because I was sent to Korea for 3 months, and I lived in a Korean Bhikkhuni temple, and I studied the ordination procedure, which was in Korean. And then I translated into English and then into Sinhala, and I brought it back for our nuns to be acquainted with before they stood up for ordination. Then I find that the procedure is not different from our bhikkhu ordination procedure, which we find in Sri Lanka even today. There are technical details. There maybe there are more rules than our Theravada Vinaya. Actually, the Vinaya contains, we have only 311, they have about 348 rules. So the Vinaya procedure remains nothing to be controversial about. In Mahavihara or in Abhayagiri or Dharmagupta or Theravada, the Vinaya procedure, the ordination procedure has not undergone much difference. It remains identical. So I am confident about that. Thank you, Hema.
Does the question refer to this?
Yes.
Okay.
Venerable Bhikkhuni Kusuma, this is a question to you on this point. I understand that in theory, there is no difference between the Mahayana and the Theravada as far as the Dharmagupta Vinaya rules are concerned. Now, you know more about the Sinhalese history, but if I can remind you that the male lineage has been cut off several times in your history, but there has always been a political intervention in order to reintroduce the male bhikkhu lineage. That's why you have the Amarapura, the Burmese, or the Thai lineage. Now, there must be a reason that the female lineage has never been reintroduced. I mean, like the male lineage has been. And I see this as a political issue. And at the same time, like what Nancy was saying, even though you are ordained as a bhikkhu, the most important thing for you is to be accepted back into your own society without being sort of ostracized or cut off from your people. Now, how can we achieve this? And as I said, I see it from my point of view, as a political, it's not only a religious issue, and we have to think about this since we're all here together. How can we put this forward or go one step forward? Thank you.
I was to ask the same question, but I want to add something. If we compare, for example, the situation of Cambodia, Thailand, Laos with, let's say, Burma and Sri Lanka, I guess the Sri Lankan and the Burmese venerables, because of the conditions they were given to study, for them it is much easier to immediately pick this proof, while it may a bit more of a problem in Cambodia, Thailand, and also in Laos. So this refers to this question. So why is it in Sri Lanka?
Well, I must say that the tradition is die-hard. We've had this tradition for over 1,000 years. The bhikkhus alone were the masters. So I think we will give more time and go slowly at it, because it is not easy to break through tradition. These are hard line, hardcore. But that is one reason why we opted to be 2 years in India and feel our way about. In the meantime, we find many, many bhikkhus, like the ones here, the venerable ones, many who have come and privately confessed to us that they are loyal to this issue. So I think as time goes on, if our conduct is right, I must add, if I keep this Buddhist discipline, I think nobody can dislodge me from the robe. This belongs to me. And anyway, I have got a world convention, and it is only a convention. This ordination is a convention. People come round together and say, we appoint you as bhikkhuni. So once you have got the convention, it is up to us, the first batch of bhikkhunis, to conduct ourselves in a way that is acceptable to the society at large. And I think we will win their favors by and by. That is why we have taken time off, say 2 years or 3 years, for our own edification also. We must have something in our hand to give. We can't show an empty fist. So this is why it is so necessary that we keep the discipline. And then maybe we can convince them by and by that this is, in fact, right. I'm hoping. This is where I need all of you. This is where I need support. This is where I feel I am just born, and I have a long way to go to get off ground. We need more numbers. We need more education. We need more discipline. And then we can face up to all the challenges and hold our ground. And I'm so thankful to Ranjani, and I'm so thankful to Dr. Hema Gunatilaka, and of course, Venerable Lecture Soma. I have no words to thank, because it was she from the beginning. As when I was translating her book, the Sakyadhita Daughters of the Buddha, into Sinhala, then only I realized the depth of her commitment. Then only I realized every word of it, because I had to translate it into Sinhala. And then I was so inspired. In fact, I thought, when I publish my book, I shall dedicate it to Venerable Lecture. And it means to Sakyadhita. I think the two words are synonymous. And may I have that privilege also. So we need to go some far. a little distance more.
Yes, I think one of the things you asked about was what is the politics behind this, and a little bit about the politics as well. And well, I'm not sure I understand politics either. I certainly don't like it. But I think sometimes it's very difficult to separate religion from politics. There's always a power struggle, especially when women are trying to get power. And this is certainly the case in many countries for ordination of women. Now, why is it that women have not, the ordination for women was not resurrected in Sri Lanka? That's a mystery.
That is politics.
Yeah, that is politics. The history books don't talk about it. They just have inscriptions about donations to bhikkhunis, and suddenly around the 10th century or so, maybe a little later, there are no more inscriptions. Why? What can we go back to? It's very difficult, and this is a political issue. How do we overcome this when we don't know what there is to overcome there? How are the history books written? It's very difficult, and I think today, as the fledgling bhikkhunis are arising and having some support, I think we need to be very conscious of this political issue, because there will be people who try to stop the ordination, the full ordination, not just taking place, but also gaining ground within Sri Lanka. That's why I feel, I'm very happy to see my good friend Bhikkhuni Kusuma here today. I have known her for so many years before she was ordained, and when I go back to Sri Lanka now, I miss her very much. She's not there. I have to come to Cambodia to meet her. Why is that? It's very difficult, but I'm waiting till she's back in Sri Lanka and till she and others like her are accepted there. This is a political issue.
She's my learned daughter also.
Talking about history, it's something very important that we need to address. The other day we have not been able to discuss very much Norma's paper. History has always been written and documented by men. Always, but not always. In Sri Lanka, I will give you a very good example. In the 4th century after Christ, the first ever history book was written by women, by Buddhist nuns, called Tape11. Tape11 by Buddhist nuns. There is a lot of evidence to show that this book was written by Buddhist nuns. That was in the 4th century after Christ. In fact, this book helps even the Indian history to get their facts right, because Sri Lanka is one of the countries that has a very well documented history, one of the few countries which has a well documented history at least in Asia. So, 4th century, these Buddhist nuns composed this book of history called Tape11. In the 6th century, the Buddhist monks wrote a history called Mahavansa. And that does not have any references to Buddhist nuns. As simple as that. All those references have been deleted by the monks. I have gone through, my studies have been also in Pali and Sanskrit. I have gone through almost all the text, and another Pali scholar is Bhikkhuni Kusuma. I have gone through all the commentaries as well by Buddhaghosa. We respect Buddhaghosa as a scholar, but we cannot respect him for his distortions. He has. In my studies, he has distorted quite a lot of things when it comes to women. To my knowledge, no work written by women by men has ever presented the truth. And very rarely, would you ever come across any book? I mean, I'm talking about the history books, not the modern books. There may be feminist men writers. So any book that has this is a very good example. So from the 4th century, 6th century, up to the down the line, so many commentaries, there have been distortions. So it is time for women's histories to come. That is the point that Norma made. Thank you.
Many.
I would like to ask both Venerable Panyavati and Dr. Salgado how they account for the courage of the women who come forward to take bhikkhuni ordination, even in the face of opposition from the established bhikkhu sangha. In, for example, the Tibetan tradition, we're finding that the nuns are very reluctant to seek higher ordination. Could you please explain how it came about, how you feel that this came about, that the women are willing to step forward and take the ordination, and also to explain why in Sri Lanka still there are many who are not interested in bhikkhuni ordination?
I didn't get the question, darling, properly. I didn't get the question properly. I didn't get the question properly. Please tell me now.
How is it that some women are not willing, interested?
The question is how some women in Sri Lanka take ordination in spite of the bhikkhus being against, and how some have opted to take ordination in spite of their reluctance. Huh? Some women, well, to tell you the truth, as I understand, most of the vociferous criticism against bhikkhuni ordination is done by a few monks who are heard over the radio, over the mass media, but they don't represent the general view. The majority are silent, and maybe a big minority are for it. But what is heard over the media are those few who are against. So really, some women, some men, Dasasil Matas who have an affiliation for those who are against, may find it difficult to break away. But some of the nuns who have no affiliation with those, who have no personal bondage with those who are opposing, find it not difficult to take the path. As for me, I found that the monks who were around us were supportive, in fact encouraging. When I was reluctant myself, I refused many times to take ordination because I thought it was too big a jump. And then they nearly cancelled the ordination ceremony. And he phoned me up when I was then studying in Korea. He took a long distance phone call to Korea and said, either you take it or I cancel this. Then I said, Venerable Sir, even at the risk of my life, I will take it, but please don't cancel it. But I thought I would be in the background and allow the Dasasil Matas to take ordination. But some of the including Ranjani and including Dr. Hema Gunatilaka and Dr. Vijay Sundara. There were a few others who were insisting that I should come since I have done 2 researches on this and I am able to enlighten maybe up to some extent about this issue. So, is that enough? Thank you.
I think, may I give more details about this situation, because I am directly dealing and that is my full-time work. And I must say, we must give credit to Sakyadita, to tell you frankly. This originated after the first Sakyadita the third Sakyadita conference in Sri Lanka. I really got interested, and you remember, Venerable Lekshit, when you want to introduce Samaneri to the Dasasil Matas that time during the conference period, I opposed it. Because when we want to organize, as I have been always repeating, but I am saying it again for those who are not aware of it, the Mahasangha, the chief Sangha, we have to get permission to hold a conference from the 3 Mahanayakas, the 3 chapters. So we went to the first one, the closest, and he said, oh, it's all right, you can have it, but except for one thing, the condition, we cannot discuss the Bhikkhuni issue. So then I said, yes, Venerable Sir, it's true, we know that it is not, we are not going to make an issue, but we want that Buddhist women of all countries to meet in Sri Lanka. Then he said, when we want to bow to him and go, he told me, in that case, why don't you put it in writing and give it? Okay, so reluctantly, I prepared a letter with our Commissioner of Buddhist Affairs that time, Abhay Veerakon, who attended the very first conference in India. He wanted me to submit that letter to the ministry to get the approval. So I went behind the scene and I got the approval from the President's Secretary. That is how I organized the third conference, and after that, from that day inward, I was determined that we are one day going to get the Bhikkhuni order very soon in Sri Lanka. And apart from that, I said, why, Venerable Sir, why can't the women be like this? And then they have no reply, because they were suppressing us, including Buddhist leading women in Sri Lanka, and even nuns. They don't believe, they never believe that it is possible. So it was a long way. We have to, as you say, media. It was media, not by radio or by newspaper. It was my own voice sometimes, very often, and with Bhikkhuni Kusuma, that time she was a lay person. 2 of us used to go to many places. We go on talking about it and try to convince wherever it's possible. Whether even at a party or at a wedding, even I'll be talking the same thing. So that's how we achieved, and I must say, I want to tell all the members who are new to the Sakyadita the background to this. And today, I have no fear. Bhikkhunis are accepted in Sri Lanka. Don't worry, if Kusuma Bhikkhuni is coming, surely all the ladies, all the Buddhist organizations will come forward and meet her at the airport and take her in procession. And monks too will accept her.
I would like to make one correction. I did not recommend that the Shramanarika ordination be held at the third conference in Colombo. I recommended that the Sri Lankan nuns receive the Shramanarika ordination privately from respected bhikkhus in advance of taking the bhikkhuni ordination, because this is the proper procedure that is clearly stated in the Vinaya texts. And I firmly believed, and I still believe, that if we follow the proper procedures and conduct our ordinations of Shramanarikas and bhikkhunis according to the correct procedures as stated in the Vinaya texts, we will have a greater chance for acceptance of the Bhikkhuni Sangha from the bhikkhus. Thank you.
I think I would like to partially answer Venerable Lise's question just now about some of the nuns' attitudes about the higher ordinations. Since June last year, Miss half year ago, when my teacher assigned me the job to do the planning and coordinating in India. I have met many senior monks and nuns, and I met quite a number of nuns in Dharamsala when I told them about the ordination through my interpreter, of course, and some of them asked, "Oh, why higher ordinations?" And some even know why is higher ordination, and some of them are not interested at all. But from nuns of Nepal, we have received 17 applications from the Theravada nuns from Nepal. But not long ago, about 2 months back, I received news from them that the monks are making noise. They say, "You are taking the high ordination from the Mahayana traditions. You have to follow the Mahayana tradition. You have to put on their robes. You have to do their chanting. You have to follow their culture." And some nuns, they are frightened. And they withdraw. It's what I understand from our corresponding lay people in Nepal. Some nuns are afraid. They withdraw. But there's one nun by the name of Sujata. She was very brave. She asked me for the Patimokkha. She said, "I want to challenge the monk that we are following the Patimokkha, but not the Mahayana traditions." And I even received a letter from the All India Bhikkhu of Nepal opposing this. They indirectly opposing. They said they do not like the ideas. Bhikkhuni lineage in Nepal, there's no in our traditions. We do not want to interfere in each other's traditions. We do not object to Bhikkhuni ordination, but Nepal, we are not ready for it. And I replied to them, when our teacher, Lord Buddha, passed into Nirvana, he told his disciple, "When I enter into Nirvana, the Vinaya is your teacher." I told them the nuns, the well-disciplined nuns, they are following the Vinaya, but not to Mahayana traditions. We have not at any time forced any nun to take the higher ordination conducted by the Chinese. They are following the Patimokkha, but not the traditions. And I also received 22 applications, in fact more. But later on, 3 more nuns withdraw. Recently, I heard from our corresponding Bante Somaranka. He told me 2 more nuns, means 5 nuns has withdrawn because their teacher does not like it. I think that's the attitude of some of the bhikkhus. They are against the bhikkhuni ordination. That's why the nuns themselves are afraid to take the higher ordinations. Thank you.
So I want now I want to invite a voice from Thailand, and then there was one more comment, and then we have to close the session to get ready for luncheon time.
ทุกท่านนะคะการบวชของภิกษุณีในประเทศไทยนั้นคนไทยมีความคิดเห็นอย่างไรมันก็มีความคิดเห็นอยู่2 ฝ่ายคือบางท่านก็เห็นด้วยบางท่านก็ยังไม่เห็นด้วยเพราะคิดว่าการศึกที่ไม่เห็นด้วยนั้นเพราะคิดว่าการศึกษาของแม่ชีที่ผู้หญิงเราเนี่ยการศึกษาทางธรรมยังมีความเข้าใจยังน้อยอยู่แล้วก็เขาก็อยากจะให้พัฒนาทางด้านสตรีนี้ให้ศึกษาทางธรรมค้นคว้าให้มากขึ้นให้เข้าใจในหลักศาสนาดีกว่านี้แล้วเขาก็คิดว่าถ้าหากว่าพัฒนาดีแล้วมีการศึกษาดีอะไรดีแล้วในส่วนผู้หญิงเราเนี่ยสามารถทำขึ้นมาได้แล้วภิกษุณีนี้จะตามมาในภายหลังแล้วส่วนความคิดเห็นของคณะสงฆ์ได้บางฝ่ายก็บอกว่าถ้าเราไม่บวชภิกษุณีให้กับแม่ชีในไทยเกรงว่าอุบาสิกาของไทยในอนาคตนั้นจะต้องไปบวชอยู่กับมหายานหมดเกรงว่าจะไม่มีอุบาสิกาในเมืองไทยนะคะก็มีความคิดเห็นกันอยู่นะคะ
The two opinions toward the high aviation. The group that opposed to this idea think that the nuns in Thailand have not had enough education yet. They have to practice more, they have to understand the Dharma more, they have to study more. And in the future we will have it. This is the same thing in public, all the monks and the nuns. She said, but the one that want to support, they're afraid that because Buddhism, the mainstream Buddhism in Thailand is quite corrupt. And many upasika, you know, the women are actually the main devotee, and they lost faith. So they're afraid that they will more and more not interested in Buddhism anymore. Or they're also afraid that more Thai women will ordain as Mahayana and become Mahayana, not Theravada. They still see the two things separately.
ฉะนั้นทางสถาบันแม่ชีไทยซึ่งรวบรวมแม่ชีจากทั่วประเทศไทยนั้นก็จึงได้พยายามให้การศึกษากับแม่ชีทุกรูปแบบทั้งทางวิชาชีพก็ตามการศึกษาทางธรรมก็ตามนะคะให้ศึกษาหลายอย่างแล้วก็สามารถที่จะช่วยเหลือสังคมได้คิดว่าการทำงานเผยแผ่ในศาสนาด้านนี้แล้วก็ช่วยเหลือสังคมด้านนี้จะทำให้ประชาชนยอมรับในผลงานของแม่ชีมากขึ้นแล้วก็ถ้าต่อไปมีการที่จะบวชเป็นภิกษุณีนั้นประชาชนก็จะยอมรับเอง
She thinks her role, the institute, the non-institute think that what they can do now is give more and more training and education to nuns, so that they have confidence in themselves. But also when they are able to contribute to some social activism, then the public will recognize and support them when they want higher ordination. I just want to add one of my experience. 6 months ago, I have a talk in the seminar, and we invite a high monk from the committee, the committee of the monk. I raised the issue about the movement in Sri Lanka to bring back the high ordination. He just got up from his seat and said, "Wephon, you cannot change the Buddha words." I think it's 5 years a monk especially, so I keep quiet and didn't say anything. The next day he came to me that he has to say that because he cannot just publicly say he supported, but he will go to Potikaya and he will support, but at the back. So this is what we have to do. That I agree with Pisuni Kusuma that it's very hard in Asian country being a woman, and because feminism in Thailand is considered very westernized, very Farang. You have to really to be patient and to become compassionate, I think.
So we have one more comment and then we are closing.
My comment is purely as a layperson and not as a historian. But over the last 20 years, being an obedient house husband, I have collected a lot of oral history about the nuns movement in Sri Lanka. And I want to address the question that was raised earlier about the politics of acceptance. Let me assure you, as purely a lay observer from the outside, that acceptance has come out very imperceptibly. It has permeated very much irrespective of the dialogues that seem to occur outside. And even that, I doubt very much whether they occur at the same strident level. I'll just give one or two examples. In certain villages, I am reliably informed that bhikkhunis, dasin matas, are more welcome than monks to give dana and also to preach. And I can remember, the other example is, I can remember the day when Kusuma Bhikkhuni was about to set to go to India, and there was this large gathering of people who did not know about the incident. And Bhikkhuni Kusuma, she was not Bhikkhuni at that time, was invited by the monk to address. And this was a very mixed audience, larger than this. And she was accepted without any contestation. She was accepted warmly and the words that she said were just taken in. So I doubt very much whether there is very much of the politics of acceptance in Sri Lanka. One can go into the sociological reasons for this perhaps at another time. But I would say that largely arises from the broad democratization of the country, which has gone through over the last 40, 50 years. This is purely as a layman and a quasi-sociologist. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you very much for your attention and your engagement. I think we had a very exciting morning session. It's 11:30 now, and we come back at 1 o'clock properly. Thank you.
Respected Venerable Bhikshunis, Bhikshukas, and Buddhist fellows. First of all, I must ask excuse from all of you that my topic does not suit for this conference. Even then, organizers have invited me and allowed to present the paper before you. Actually, we are the researchers, and as said, we are working on a research project which is very high technical. Dr. Sushma Kulashrestha is our chief investigator. So I sent the paper relating to my research project, but respecting your ideas, I will not present my full length of paper as it is not fully fit for here. I come from the country where women were worshipped previously. The first man on the earth, Manu, says, Yatra naryastu pujyante ramante tatra devataha. Where women are worshipped, their gods live. What to speak of bhikshunis? I find myself enough fortunate with you and pray blessings from you. Though my paper is connected with somehow with Buddhist women, but I am going to present the different aspects which is not well connected with the theme of this conference. It is connected with natural graces. Ashwaghosh was a disciple of Venerable Parshva and wrote two epics called Buddha Charit and Saundarnanda. It happened that Ashwaghosh was unable to offer solution of question put by Parshva, became Parshva's disciple, and at his instance began to teach the religion of Buddha. It appears that Ashwaghosh accompanied Kanishk to Kashmir and was treated by him with great veneration, and in Kanishka's council he took a leading part. It Singh mentions him as an old teacher and places him before Nagarjuna and Aryadeva. His Buddha Charit is a Mahakavya celebrating the history and teachings of Buddha. Saundarnand is an exquisite poem of 18 cantos. It describes the conversion of King Nanda of the Ikshwaku race and his redemption from the ocean of worldly pleasures in which he was immersed in the company of his consort Sundari. Ashwaghosh avows that this poem was intended to teach philosophy by the detectable means of alluring poetry. The Saundarnand has been somewhat neglected by students of Buddhism in the past. Surprisingly, perhaps, because apart from its interest as an example of early Buddhist poetry, it is. These two poems supplement each other on the life of Buddha. His vocabulary is very ancient, and several of his words have now become obsolete in their peculiar meanings. His philosophy was of a high order. He belonged to a school, probably of Yogachar, which preceded the Mahayana school with its theory of Shunyata propounded by Nagarjuna 2 generations later. Now, just to cut short, I would like to describe the background of this paper. There are 4 Purusharthas in human life: Dharma, Artha, Kam, and Moksha. Here, in this paper, we will discuss only 3rd Purushartha, that is Kam, which is found in Saundarnanda. Kam is a necessary part of life, and literature always depicts human life. Therefore, Kam is bound to be reflected in literature. In the Sanskrit literature, Kam and Shringar ras are inevitable. Every poet, by and large, describes these 2 elements in his poetry. Shringar and Kam are related with youth. When characters like young king, queen, deities, etc. are involved, Kam naturally becomes indispensable. Actually, the beauty and natural gestures are at their peak in young age. Such qualities appear in every man and women with effortless ease at this time. These qualities are named as Alankar by the Acharyas of Sanskrit poetics. These Alankaras found in both the sexes, but their development in female seems to be more charming and attractive. Hence, poets have always an innate propensity to describe these Alankaras more abundantly with respect to women than men.